Hi guys! So today I'm going to talk to you about race day. And just one quick side note, as you can see I'm finally home from college. I got my rowing sanctuary. This place is like dedicated to rowing and it's kind of pathetic. But anyways, race day. There's so many things going on. You really have to make sure you have your head on straight. You have to make sure you're aware of all your surroundings, your rowers, your game plan, your race plan, I should say, not your game plan. And just basically every single thing that's going on, knowing your rowers at all times. So one thing I like to make sure is I have every single race. I have my heat sheet for all the boats in my event, the course map, so that way I can make any notes on it and look at the meter markings, things like that. Pen and notebook for the coaches and coxswains meeting, and an event list in case any other rowers ask me when their event is, or so that way I know the event before me is launching, I know when to launch. Make sure you have your race plan down. You've gone over it with your stroke or your boat, however close you want to work with them. Coaches and coxswains meeting. I'll talk about that first, going in order of a regatta. Always make sure you ask questions. Make sure you're there on time. Especially, one thing that I've noticed is if you are 2 minutes late to the coxswains meeting, you're in trouble because they've probably gone over something or some big major rule that was the first thing to say, or they've notified you of any scratches in your race. Make sure you have your pen and notebook. I know it may seem lame to be there taking notes, and you may be the only coxswain taking notes. I know I was 2 weekends ago at New England's, but always make sure you're asking questions if you're unsure of anything, meter markings, approximate areas. Even if they've said it 3 or 4 times, ask. You don't want to get DQ'd. You don't want to have time added onto you. One thing I always ask is if the finish line is on a flag or a horn. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's neither, and that's something that can really stress you out as you're coming into that last 250. You're like, oh shit. Do I keep rowing through? Do they tell me when to stop? Things like that. So I always make sure I ask that. Second thing, your rowers. It's very difficult to keep a head count on them sometimes. They could be at the food tent, they could be at the trailer, they could be shopping, they could be watching their teammates' races, things like that. So one thing that I would do at big regattas is make sure that they did kind of like the buddy system, but pair system. Made sure they knew where their pair was at all times, or they traveled with them, so that way you don't have 8 people telling you, like, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm going to the trailer, I'm going to the tent. You have the pair to know. So if you see your 8 seat and 7 seat told them to go to the bathroom, things like that. So it really works out well. I usually try to get a head count every so often, just to make sure I know where they are and how things are going. Make sure your rowers are hydrated and well fed, and that they stop eating at a certain time, because I've seen rowers about to down a peanut butter and jelly sandwich 20 minutes before we launch. And I know that's just going to come right back up halfway through the race. So make sure that they're just eating healthy and they're eating the proper things with the proper amount of time before the race. Hydration is so, so important, especially on a really hot day. Sometimes I'll keep my rowers in the shade, go grab some waters for them, make sure so they don't have to move or anything. I like them to have usually a few water bottles, a Gatorade or 2 before a race. That way they have plenty of time to pee it out if they have to, and to stay hydrated and have electrolytes in their body. So then, after you've taken care of your rowers, then you can go on to your boat. And the boat, I've had so many problems with that, things like that. Breakage, damage, jump seats. Oh my gosh, it's been horrible. So you have to check everything. I cannot emphasize that enough. Check every single little thing there is. Check the skeg. Check the rudder to make sure it moves. Check your cox box, plug it in. Check all the speakers. Check to make sure that the cox box is recording the stroke rate. Check all of your riggers. Make sure every single thing is tight. Check the top nuts. Check all the ones connected to the boat. Check the foot stretchers. Make sure not only the foot stretcher is tight onto it, but the shoes are actually tight on the foot stretchers. Another thing about the feet is you have to make sure U.S. rowing requires certain rules with how far you can pull the heel of the shoe off the board. It's only like 2 or 3 inches, so make sure those are tight. I actually figured out last weekend when I was at New England's that one of my shoes wasn't connected, so I had to fix that real quick on the fly. And let's see, seats. I've had jump seats, so make sure I usually test it out a little bit at the front and the back of the slide to make sure that the seat's not going to jump off like that. Let's see. That's pretty much it for checking your boat down. Just check everything. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Make sure you have your bow number. That's embarrassing to be the one coxswain running back up from the dock because you forgot your bow number. Plus, there's some regattas where they can actually disqualify, or not disqualify, they'll give you a warning or things like that if you don't have your bow number on. So that's basically everything for race day. Make sure you have your game plan, your heat sheet, your course, any piece of paper you need. You know the race course, you know the meter markings, everything in your boat is checked down. You're keeping an eye on your rowers, and make sure you have a great day of racing. I hope that was helpful. Bye, guys.